Okay, today we're going to do a lesson on generating random samples. Now, if you really want to go to a good activity, just go to page 325 in your book. That's the Go Math book. It has a great activity called Explore Activity Number 2. Just follow through it. It's very step by step. But just to kind of give you an idea of what that activity is about, let's look at our own little random table and how we would use it. Let's say I want to do an activity to try to figure out what's the average number of kids in a classroom in the state of Tennessee. Can you imagine trying to count all the kids in every class in Tennessee? Well, they probably don't do that. Now, I'm sure they do it, every once in a while, but, if we just wanted to guess how many kids are there, we could do what we call a random sample, which is where we would pick classrooms randomly from across the state and average them. So I'm going to show you how to do that. My table has some classes from around the state, some class sizes from around the state. And notice the 1 through 6 on each side. That's going to help me randomly pick some of these classes. What I'll do is I'll roll the dice twice. And let's say I roll a 2 and a 3. Well, I'm going to go across this table and I'm going to look and it says 2 and there's 3. Well, there's 27 kids in that class. Then I roll it again and I get a 5 and a 1. So I'm going to get a 5 and a 1. Well, that will be 32 kids in that class. Okay, and let's see. Maybe I roll a 2 and a 6. Well, I go over to the 2 and up to the 6, and I get 20. And I would keep doing that for just as many samples as I want. But let's just say I just decided to pick 3 things for my sample. And I got 27, 32, and 20. I could just add those together and divide by 3. And that will give me a random sample. So let's see, that's 9, and that's 5, 6, 7. I would just go 3 goes into 79, and it goes in there 26.3 repeating times. That means in the average classroom of the sample that I picked, there would be about 26 kids in a class. So if I looked across the state, I'd say, hey, there's about 26 kids in a class. That's my random sample. Now, if I rolled the dice and did another sample, I'd probably get another average. And the more numbers I include in my sample, the closer my sample is going to be to the actual population. So, it's just a way of trying to get an idea of how to do it. When you look in your textbook, it talks about trees that are in a field, and there's like 100 acres. And they go and count the trees in some of the acres, probably like 10 of the acres. And they use it to figure out how many trees are probably in the 100 acres. So go through that activity. It's a pretty cool activity. It'll help you understand random sampling. That's on page number 325.